Hello and a very warm welcome. I am Gushin Galan and you're watching Firstpost. In the next few minutes, I get you the top 40 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started. First in from the United States, President Donald Trump's 50% tariffs on Indian goods have gone into effect, affecting trade relations between New Delhi and Washington. Trump imposed an additional 25% tariff on India following New Delhi's purchases of Russian oil. As the tariff was implemented, Trump posted a picture of himself with an oil barrel on Truth Social with the caption, "America is back and America first." The tariffs are estimated to impact $48.2 billion worth of Indian exports to the US. Denmark summoned the US chargé d'affaires after reports of American attempts to interfere in Greenland, its autonomous Arctic territory. Foreign Minister said any such involvement in Denmark's internal affairs was unacceptable. The move follows past tensions, including President Trump's suggestion that US must take over Greenland. US Envoy Steve Witkoff said that President Trump will lead a White House meeting on Wednesday to outline a post-war plan for Gaza once the conflict between Israel and Hamas ends. Witkoff described the proposal as robust and well-meaning, though no details were disclosed. He accused Hamas of delaying hostage negotiations, noting a deal had been on the table for weeks to release 10 hostages, but was stalled by the group. Israeli police said that security forces seized about 1.5 million shekels or $447,000 in terror funds during a raid on currency exchange in Ramallah. The operation, carried out on Tuesday with military support, targeted funds allegedly linked to Hamas. Authorities said 9 suspects were arrested and large sums in US dollars, euros, Jordanian dinars and other currencies were confiscated. The Palestinian Red Crescent reported dozens of injuries during the raid. North Korea denounced South Korean President Lee Jae-myung as a hypocrite after he called for denuclearization during a visit to Washington. Pyongyang's KCNA accused Lee of revealing his true colors as confrontation maniac, dismissing his comments as a naive dream like catching a cloud. North Korea reiterated it would never abandon nuclear weapons, which it called the prestige and honor of the state. The leaders of France, Germany and Poland will be in Moldova on Wednesday to show support ahead of the country's parliamentary elections next month. French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk will meet President Maia Sandu in Chisinau. The visit comes amid growing concerns over alleged Russian interference. Sandu, a strong critic of Moscow since its 2022 invasion of Ukraine, has accused Russia of destabilization efforts as Moldova pursues EU membership. Australian police intensified a manhunt for a heavily armed suspect accused of killing 2 officers and injuring a third during a shootout at a rural property in Victoria. Authorities identified the gunman as 56-year-old Desi Freeman, also known as Desmond Philby, who was believed to possess survival skills in multiple high-powered firearms. The incident occurred on Tuesday when a police team arrived to execute a search warrant. Freeman allegedly opened fire before fleeing on foot into a dense bushland. Thai police arrested prominent Buddhist monk Luang for Alan Court. He was arrested for allegedly embezzlement, dereliction of duty and money laundering linked to a hospice he found of HIV/AIDS patients. Along Court was forced to disrobe before being charged in line with the procedure for monks. He had denied the allegations. Miguel Uribe Londono, father of slain Colombian president candidate Miguel Uribe, announced his own bid for the presidency. Speaking outside Congress in Bogota, he vowed to continue his son's legacy by building a safer and more united Colombia. His son was fatally shot earlier this year during a campaign rally, an event that sparked national outrage. The upper stage of SpaceX Starship mega rocket successfully splashed down in the Indian Ocean after meeting its key objectives on its 10th flight test. After a string of test failures marked by explosions, Elon Musk's Starship mega rocket developed for missions to the Moon and Mars achieved a flawless performance during a closely watched test flight. On to climate news now. In North India, Jammu and Kashmir's death toll rose to over 30 after a landslide struck the Vaishno Devi pilgrimage route on Tuesday. Triggered by torrential rains, the disaster also injured more than 20 devotees who were pulled out from the debris. Schools were shut, trains cancelled, and national highways remained blocked. Meanwhile, in the state of Punjab, relentless rains worsened flooding in Kapurthala and Firozpur. Several villages were submerged as the Beas River overflowed, following water releases from the Bhakra Dam. Authorities remain on high alert amid the threat of fresh flooding. And in neighbouring Pakistan, Lahore and Punjab remain inundated as floodwaters from upper catchment surge. At least 150,000 people have been displaced in Punjab province after severe flooding on Tuesday. In Kasur district, residents were evacuated along with their belongings and livestock. Officials have warned of a very high to exceptionally high flood risk in the region. Authorities added that forced evacuations began last Friday, while voluntary evacuations had started earlier on August 14. Typhoon Kajiki's death toll has risen to at least 8 in Vietnam and Thailand as of Wednesday. The storm unleashed heavy rains in Thailand, flooding 8 provinces and affecting more than 180 households. In northern Vietnam, authorities warned of more flash floods and landslides as rainfall persisted. Kajiki made landfall in Vietnam on August 25 before weakening into a depression. Even after losing strength, it triggered widespread flooding and landslides across the region. Tokyo recorded at least 10 straight days of temperature at or above 35 degrees Celsius, marking a new record on Wednesday. The weather agency said it was the first time such a streak was seen since records began in 1875. However, the heat wave came just after Japan suffered its hottest June and July on record. Meanwhile, officials warned residents to stay indoors or use cooling to avoid heat stroke, especially as over 8,400 people were hospitalized last week alone. Spain has declared at least 16 regions as emergency areas after more than 113 wildfires swept the country this summer. Interior Minister made the announcement on Tuesday following a cabinet meeting, calling it one of the worst environmental disasters in recent years. He added it was still too early to assess the full extent of the damage. Meanwhile, southern Europe is enduring one of its worst fire seasons in 2 decades, with over 400,000 hectares already burnt in Spain this year. On to business and tech news now. Asian stocks were steady earlier today as investors awaited Nvidia's highly anticipated quarterly earnings report, while the US dollar remained weak amid concerns over Federal Reserve autonomy. Markets were also pricing in a September rate cut, with traders shifting focus to US payroll data. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan was up just 0.2%, while China's blue chip stocks gained 0.3%. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said the Trump administration was considering taking stakes in defense contractors, including Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and Palantir. Lutnick said that Pentagon leaders had been discussing how to finance munitions acquisitions, calling Lockheed Martin basically an arm of the U.S. government, as the company earned 97% of its revenue from Washington. Retailer Kroger reportedly said it was laying off corporate associates, with the move impacting fewer than 1,000 employees. The company stressed that staff in stores, manufacturing facilities, and distribution centers were not impacted. Interim CEO Ron Sargent told employees the cuts were aimed at simplifying operations and shifting resources closer to customers. U.S. restaurant chain Cracker Barrel abandoned plans for a new logo after fierce criticism, announcing that its old-timer emblem would remain. The company faced a wave of backlash when it unveiled a modernized design on August 19th, which removed the iconic figure sitting against a barrel. President Donald Trump was among those slamming the rebrand, later applauding the reversal and calling it $1 billion worth of free publicity. A new report suggested that Bain Capital, the controlling shareholder of parka jacket maker Canada Goose, has received bids to take the luxury retailer private at a valuation of about $1.4 billion. Bids were said to have come from private equity firms including Advent International and Boyu Capital, as well as apparel maker Bosendeng, and a consortium led by Anta Sports and Fountain West Capital. Satellite communications company EchoStar agreed to sell wireless spectrum licenses to AT&T in a deal worth $23 billion amid pressure from regulators and after President Donald Trump urged an agreement. The deal, which resolves U.S. inquiries into EchoStar's 5G build-out, will support AT&T's expansion of fiber and 5G networks, while EchoStar said it puts the business on a solid financial path. Apple announced that its annual fall event is going to take place on September 9 at the Steve Jobs Theatre in Cupertino. The company is expected to unveil new iPhones, watches, and an updated Vision Pro headset while pushing to integrate artificial intelligence into its devices. Apple was also facing pressure from the Trump administration on U.S. investment and tariffs, even as it was lagging rivals like Samsung and Huawei in the AI race. President Donald Trump said Meta was planning to spend $50 billion on a new AI data center in Louisiana, marking it the company's largest facility. The center, located in Richland Parish, would handle heavy computational power to support artificial intelligence workload and digital infrastructure. Meta declined to comment on Trump's remarks, but earlier this month, reports said the company had secured $29 billion in financing to fund the project. Parents of a 16-year-old who died by suicide filed a lawsuit against OpenAI and CEO Sam Altman in San Francisco State Court. They said their son Adam Rain had been coached by ChatGPT on methods of self-harm and even encouraged to draft a suicide note. The lawsuit that demanded unspecified damages claimed OpenAI put profit above safety, despite knowing its features could endanger vulnerable users. OpenAI said it was saddened by Rain's death and insisted safeguards were in place. Spotify said it will start rolling out a messaging feature to both free and premium users this week, beginning in select markets. The feature will let listeners chat and share music directly inside the app, but only with people they have interacted with on Spotify. It will be available on mobile for users aged 16 and above. Spotify had previously removed a similar tool in 2017, citing low engagement. This time, the company is betting on its growing user base, which reached 696 million last quarter. Moving to sports today, we begin with tennis. And here's the latest from the US Open. Two times former champion Naomi Osaka advanced to the second round of the Grand Slam. The former world number one beat her Belgian opponent 6-3, 6-4. Osaka has not gone beyond the last 32 of a Grand Slam since capturing the last of her four major titles at the 2021 Australian Open. And women's world number 3 Coco Gauff squeezed past her Australian opponent in the first round. Gauff overcame a host of self-inflicted errors to win the match 6-4, 6-7, 7-5 in a match that lasted nearly 3 hours. The reigning French Open champion finished with a whopping 59 unforced errors and 10 double faults. And unlike Coco Gauff, women's world number 2 Iga Swiatek marched into second round with an emphatic win. The reigning Wimbledon champion beat her Colombian opponent 6-1, 6-2. The 24-year-old from Poland was always in control against her 84th ranked opponent. The win marked Swiatek the first woman in history to win 65 consecutive WTA level first round matches. And men's world number 1 Jannik Sinner kicked off his US Open title defense with a quick win. The reigning Wimbledon champion beat Czech world number 89 Witkoff in straight sets. Sinner needed just an hour and 38 minutes to beat his opponent. Sinner next plays Alexei Popyrin for a place in the third round. In badminton, two-time Olympic medalist PV Sindhu marched into the second round of the World Championships. Sindhu warded off a challenge from Bulgaria's Kaloyana Nalbantova. The women's world number 15 took just 39 minutes to beat her 19-year-old opponent 23-21, 21-6. Sindhu is a former world champion from 2019. She is now on hunt for a record 6th World Championship medal. Meanwhile, in the men's singles, India's HS Pranoy also made it to the second round of the World Championship. Pranoy beat his opponent from Finland in straight games. The 2023 bronze medalist won the first round game in just 47 minutes. After Lakshya Sen's exit from the World Championships, Pranoy continues to keep India in medal contention in the men's singles category. In cricket, star Indian bowler Ravichandra Ashwin announces retirement from the Indian Premier League. In a social media post, Ashwin said his time as an IPL cricketer has come to an end. Ashwin added, and I quote, "My team as an explorer of the game around various leagues begins today," end quote. Reports say Ashwin may play franchisee cricket around the world next. The 38-year-old off-spinner features 221 IPL matches across multiple franchises, taking 187 wickets. In football, Wolverhampton Wanderers reject an improved second offer from Newcastle for striker Jürgen Strand Larsen. The second offer was reported to be over $73 million. The bid was rejected on August 26. This was when the 25-year-old scored 2 late goals as Wolves beat West Ham 3-2 to reach the Carabao Cup third round. In Formula One, former Red Bull driver Sergio Perez and 10-time Grand Slam Prix victor Valtteri Bottas will try for Cadillac next season. The experienced pair with over 500 Grand Prix starts between them will be making a return to the grid in 2026. Mitch Brown, a former Australian rules football star, came out as the first openly bisexual or gay player in the sport's history. Former West Coast defender said his bisexuality was a huge factor in his retirement aged 28. Australian rules is the country's most popular spectator sport, but it has long been marred by homophobia and racism allegations. And finally, in entertainment news, pop star Taylor Swift and NFL titan Travis Kelce have officially announced their engagement, delighting fans with dreamy images shared across social media. The couple, who have captured the public's attention with their high-profile romance, received an unexpected congratulatory message from US President Donald Trump, who publicly wished them good luck in their future together. Netflix's K-pop Demon Hunters has officially overtaken Red Notice as the most streamed movie in the platform's history, racking up 236 million views. The animated adventure, which follows a K-pop girl group doubling as monster hunters, also secured a rare theatrical release. Other titles in Netflix's all-time top 5 include Carry On, Don't Look Up, and The Adam Project. Lil Nas X broke his silence on Instagram after his August 21 arrest in Los Angeles, telling fans that he will be okay. The rapper was taken into custody after allegedly charging at police officers who responded to reports of a nude man walking in the street. Authorities said he was first taken to a hospital for a possible overdose before being jailed for 3 days. He has pleaded not guilty to 3 felony counts of battery on a police officer and 1 count of resisting arrest. Nick Chalfus is set to reprise his role as Dr. Will Halstead in Chicago Med Season 11, marking his first appearance since exiting the series in 2023. The actor will return as a guest star, though details about the number of episodes remain under the wraps. The new season premieres on October 1 on NBC. And finally, Adam Sandler has clarified a much-discussed lyric from his music tribute during SNL 50, in which he sang 50 years of finding out your favorite musician is anti-Semitic. Sandler declined to name any individual, saying, "I can't say a specific because sadly there's been a few." The comedian added that the line was left open to interpretation, underscoring how the show has long blended comedy and music to tackle cultural commentary. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us. I am Gushin Galan and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Until then, stay informed and stay tuned to Firstpost.